Hey, this is Steve Bloom, and you are listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Welcome to The Pullbag. Join us as we dig out our latest comics and discuss them with the rotating panel of the GCRN crew. So sit back and enjoy this week's Pullbag.
Cap, your rookies are getting greener every day.
Hey, Hulk Green?
What I mean, spinach for brains, is he's just a kid. Takes a lot more than a superpower to do this job. It takes guts.
Hawkeye, you're in the superhero squad?
Ms. Marvel sent me here as a S.H.I.E.L.D. observer.
Let me tell you something, Mr. I. We S.H.I.E.L.D. agents are here to defend the home front, and mister, that's just where this super soldier wants to be.
Hello and welcome to The Pullbag. This is episode 26, and we are doing something very rare, something that will come up in the future. We are covering Marvel stuff outside of Superior Spider-Man. I am, of course, your host, Steve Joe Mike, and joining me is Ryan the UnEvenFlow.
Yay. Yay me, that is.
Wow. And I thought I was going to be the Debbie Downer of this podcast.
Why? That wasn't down. Whatever. Anyway.
Oh, man. So the last time we heard from you was the Marvel Then, Marvel Now episode. What have you been up to since then?
Not a lot. I mean, a little more podcasting, video gaming, and sort of the usual for me.
Aha. And I forget who suggested to me. No, I think it was either you or it was JT. I forget when we were doing the way back in episode 20 when we were doing the Marvel episode.
All right. Well, it was both of us.
Yeah, I can't remember that far back.
The question was basically like recommending books to people, essentially, and both of us had this in our top 5, and I'd still argue it's one of the top 5 books running right now. Now, hell with it. I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm going to take a wild guess and say you hated it, and I'm going to explain why. It's not a superhero book. I mean, this is Hawkeye by Matt Fraction is a book for, at least I feel like, it's a book for people who've been reading comics for quite some time and are just looking for something else, because I can read like 100 different superhero comics every month from Marvel and DC. And
right.
One of my big complaints, particularly about the New 52 stuff, is, well, I mean, both universes are guilty of this, but a lot of it is just the same old stuff. A lot of the storylines are being rehashed, and there's certainly exceptions. There's stuff like Dan Slott's Superior Spider-Man that you mentioned is a great example of a superhero book that's doing something that no other writer has attempted before. But the other ones, it's all very sort of similar. And Hawkeye is one of the few it's completely out there to the point that it's not even a superhero book. I mean, it's basically Hawkeye on his days off.
Yeah, and I don't outright hate the series, but it really wasn't what I was expecting. Like I didn't go into it with any preconceived notions other than the fact that I remember Hawkeye from that really, really crappy United We Stand cartoon. I love his little appearances in the Superhero Squad show, and of course, last summer's The Avengers. That's pretty much all I know of Hawkeye.
What about Earth's Mightiest Heroes?
I haven't been able to get past episode 10 yet.
Oh dear. You should definitely continue watching that. It's actually a good series. Like Marvel.
Everybody keeps telling me that. I know.
Yeah.
Well, and I've said this many times before, and I'm going to be a broken record for those people who have heard me say this in the Tooncast Beyond episode about Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. The first 10 episodes, apparently people have told me it was set up as a mini-series or something, or one-shots, and...
Yeah, that's what it was. It was broadcast...
Yeah.
It was broadcast completely differently originally, and it's sort of... That first group is basically just them getting together.
Right.
Where
And what screwed me up with those is you would end on a cliffhanger. Like, I forget which episode it is. The whole future, the time traveling dude, the dude that does the time traveling without the DeLorean, whatever the hell his name is, I don't know, I don't care. But it's like it ends on that, and I'm like, wait, so is that where the next step? Oh no, the next episode is how we meet Captain America, and I'm like, and you know me, Ryan. I'm one of those people that you start a story, I expect it to be continued. I mean, if you're going to stick to a strict storyline, and obviously those first 10 episodes didn't, but I mean, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where...
Also, you need to watch more Breaking Bad. But anyway, no, I mean, it's just... what do you mean you've tried? What?
I've tried. I can't... Between that and Weeds, I just can't deal with shows that... Anyway...
You're insane. But anyway, no, like the Marvel stuff, it was originally completely different, or it was broadcast differently in the start. And I don't know, I actually like the fact that there was individual ones. I mean, Justice League had the advantage of having two series that came before it with Superman and Batman. So they had already introduced a lot of the characters that would go on to Justice League. They didn't need that.
But there's a way that you could have done, like, I forget off the top of my head, was there 6, 7 members of the Avengers, like, core? Right?
You could have, but I don't think it's, I don't know. Right. I liked this.
What I'm saying is, if there are 6 or 7 core members... You could have still told their origin stories without every episode feeling like a one-shot. That's my problem with those first episodes. And I'll get past it eventually. I will. I'm too busy reading comics at this point. But back to Hawkeye by Matt Fraction. And yeah, it's Hawkeye on his days off. And I was expecting his days off to be a little bit more eventful.
And that's the thing for, I think, a lot of us. Like, I can read... There's 20 different Deadpool titles every month. There's 10 different Batman titles. And it's all the same thing. I mean, Deadpool hasn't been written interestingly since the 90s. But for some reason, the Dude Bro crowd absolutely adore him. But there's all this stuff that's really just the same thing over and over again. And it's kind of one of the things both Marvel and DC have failed miserably at doing is showing a lot of these characters as actual people. Right. Normal people don't have, nonstop wall-to-wall excitement. And one of the problems with all the event comics, like Flashpoint or A versus X or whatever, is they never show any of the after effects of them. And it's one thing that annoys a lot of people. And this entire book is basically after effects or stuff in between. It's just something different, and I think that's why so many people and a lot of the critics and everyone has kind of latched onto it.
Yeah, and again, I'm one of those people that, for me in Marvel, it's Spider-Man, the X-Men, and that's Iron Man. That's pretty much where Hulk to me is interesting sometimes. Fantastic Four, they're okay. And I'm specifically speaking my, growing up watching the cartoons and stuff. A lot of the Marvel characters, specifically Thor, I don't. The only time I enjoy Thor is when he's being comedic in the Superhero Squad show. I do not care about Thor whatsoever. And the movie Avengers 2012 made me care about Hawkeye, and I really did want to enjoy this. What really makes me not enjoy the Matt Fraction series is bro, and oh god, this looks bad every fucking page.
Yeah, I love that, actually. I like the tracksuit mafia being sort of the big bad guy for this is another sort of entertaining aspect of it. It's
entertaining that they use the tracksuit mafia, but it's not entertaining when they say bro 1,000 friggin' times. I mean, that's like the new Turtles series. Krang, you must put this thing where the Krang needs this thing to go. I mean, it just... And Hawkeye. This looks bad. Oh my god, this looks bad. Oh wow, this looks bad. 10 reasons why this looks bad. It's like... he can't get away from his own goddamn catchphrase, and it just pissed me off the whole time I was reading. Like, the first 2 issues, I was fine. After that, between volumes 1 and volume 2, which we are actually going to talk about both volumes in this episode, I stopped caring. The times that I really cared about this book and this story is like when he's having adventures with his dog, although we'll get to something later that I just don't get why people love it.
Please tell me it's not like the issue that's told completely from his dog's point of view, which was phenomenal.
I
can't see.
I'm a dog lover, Ryan.
I can't see another comic this year getting named like
best comic.
Yeah, best comic.
Yeah.
I don't think anything's going to clear this. It is fantastic.
It looks good. I don't know. I couldn't really follow. We'll get to it. What I do love about this is how they lay out the covers in the trade volumes. I love that. I love how simple these covers are. That they're not your average, oh my god, super splashy image on the cover to entice you. It's kind of like a subtle thing, and it goes back to what you were saying.
A lot of it's the minimalist sort of retro style.
Yeah.
If you're looking for like some of the, or in my opinion anyway, the best of all cover artists at doing that is Dave Johnson, who did 100 Bullets. He did Jason Aaron's Punisher Max covers. He's just a cover artist now. And he is phenomenal at that style. And yeah, it's these... the entire cover isn't taken up with color or pictures or anything like most covers usually are.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's something sort of neat about that and different about it.
Yeah. And I will say, by the end of Volume 1, I got sick of seeing all orange and blue colors. Because issue 1, when he's, oh, this looks bad, and he's falling off the building, it's all orange and red, and then we switch to a different part of the story, and it's all bluish tone. It has that I don't know if retro is the right word, but it's not an art style, and it's not a coloring style that I'm used to reading. I don't dislike it because of it, but after a while it's like, hey, can I see some different colors besides orange, blue, and green, please?
The colors used depend on the characters in the story.
Mm.
And it's something kind of neat. You especially notice it in the second volume.
Yeah, the second volume I thought was a lot brighter, and we'll get to that down the line, but this first issue is basically... It's Clint telling you a story of basically how he rescued the dog.
Yeah.
And he keeps saying, it's not my dog, it's not my dog. And by the end of it, he's like, yeah, it's my dog. It's interesting. And I don't know, I really do enjoy it. But at the same time, there's like so many things about it that just, like, I don't think I'll ever read these books again. I really don't. I've read them once. I got it. I get it. I'll say right now, reading both volumes did not entice me to add this to my monthly list. I'm reading so much other stuff that I'm more interested in at this point, that I just can't add this. It's just no. Where do we want to start with this as far as the overall story goes?
Well, you summed up issue 1 fairly well. I mean, continuing on, a lot of the rest of the book is Hawkeye rips off a group that's ripping off of a group of the sort of supervillain mafia types in New York. And
is it this volume or is it the second volume that we get the reveal of Kingpin? I think it's the second volume.
Kingpin's in volume 1, though. He's one of the people who gets ripped off.
What is it with Marvel and not knowing how to create villains for their... I wouldn't say that Clint is a lesser-known character, but he's more like, he's not a Spider-Man, he's not a Wolverine, he's a second-tier character.
Not anymore.
Okay, well...
since Avengers, he and his book, the sales are right up there.
Right.
Trying to think of really.
My point here is why does Marvel always have to feel like they have to rely on throwing Kingpin into every fucking book as the main villain? We get it. Kingpin is the kingpin of crime. He's the head of the New York underworld. We get it. But I mean, come on, give me a different villain. This is the same way I felt when I read Kevin Smith's Daredevil, and at the end Mysterio was the fucking villain. Are you fucking kidding me? Fucking Mysterio.
Well, if you're in New York, I mean, the Kingpin essentially runs everything. You kind of need to have him in there. And I mean, alternatively, it's kind of an odd criticism coming from somebody who reads a lot of the Batman villains, where there's only about 6 villains and they just get reused in each issue. And granted, I mean, Snyder's changed it a little bit, but
he hasn't changed it enough.
No, there's still, I mean...
Joker should have killed Damian. End of story.
It's still the same, grouping.
No, I know, but it's okay, my thing is, if you're going to have a villain story based around... You can put any major villain in there. I want it built up to where you're not going to see it coming, and I obviously didn't see Kingpin coming here, but it's to me... doesn't Hawkeye warrant having his own villain, or somehow I don't know, you can go back to the old cliche of, hey, my best friend as a kid grew up to hate me and became a villain, I don't know. You could do anything, any number of things other than, hey, we're in New York, let's just rely on the kingpin of crime.
In this case, it makes sense, though. This isn't a book about the villain. They just need somebody that the audience is pretty much instantly going to know and not have to describe it all. And then the other sort of half of it is, it's unfortunate, but I mean, Hawkeye has never held down a consistent solo series, so he doesn't have much of a rogues gallery.
Yeah. I will say again about the art and the way it's laid out, in issue 2, I love how they show us that Clint has cut out the newspapers, and I love how they work in the storylines, Vagabond Code, a Clint Barton, Kate Bishop Hawkeye adventure by Matt Fraction. I love how they work that into the newspaper. I think that is really cool and really interesting as far as how they lay it out and all that. But yeah, issue 2 is basically Clint is a circus kid, much like Dick Grayson was. Right.
Yep.
Okay then. I think I prefer it better in DC's hands, but so yeah, like you said, issue 2 is basically him stopping people who are ripping off the other people, yet he rips off both people.
Both groups, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I will say that I do like the friendship relation. How old is Kate supposed to be?
Damn it, I can't remember off the top of my head, but certainly younger than Clint.
Yeah, I know they say she's younger than he is, but I do like their quote-unquote friendship. I do like their camaraderie. I think that's really, really cool. Issue 3 is all about Cherry, apparently.
Yes, she will be a recurring character, not to mention how Hawkeye gets Hawkeye's, bitchin' muscle car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like this storyline. At first, I thought it was going to be... Because, again, I was going in with not too many notions of what to... I wasn't going in with many expectations here, good or bad. I was just kind of going into it blind. But one of the expectations I had was, at some point, it's going to be him and Natasha somewhere. And I thought that Cherry was going to eventually end up being Natasha. Apparently, that's not the case.
No, and although Natasha, of course, shows up in the second volume, but anyway.
Yes.
At the same time, so...
Yeah, at the same time, so yeah. But yeah, he's got to save her, and some of the, I mentioned earlier how I like the newspaper stuff with the art, but some of the ways that the art is laid out, there's a couple of times where he's practicing. It's not directly in this issue, but it's just what I'm remembering. There's a couple of times where he's practicing and Kate's talking to him. And the way it's laid out is him doing single shots and then one letter for single shot. I don't like that. That's something I don't really care for.
But, I mean, back to issue 3, some of the stuff I liked, artwork-wise especially, was the sequence with the car chase was really well done. The sequence with the introduction of each of the old school 80s style trick arrows before he uses each one of them was cute.
Yeah, it was.
And then at the end, I mean, they did the opposite. But yeah, that was... I mean, that pretty much sums up the 3rd issue. And I mean, like I mentioned before, Cherry, the girl from it, will be a recurring character in the series.
Yep. And then we have a 2-parter, The Tape, 1 of 2. This is issue 4. Apparently this is supposed to be an Avengers storyline on his day off where some people get a hold of some tape that has him doing stuff he's not supposed to do, I believe. Doesn't he kill somebody or something like that? Yeah, that's what I thought it was. It's interesting to see Captain America here. Does that guy ever take his mask off?
Yeah. I mean, for a lot of it, I liked the fact that this was the first time that Kate Bishop gets to do a whole lot of solo stuff in it. And she really establishes herself in it.
Yeah, I enjoy her as the quote-unquote Lady Hawkeye. I think she has a great character. She somewhat, but not totally, reminds me of Barbara Gordon as Batgirl a little bit, but obviously much younger.
No,
than
she's
what
not
Barbara...
paralyzed. Oh, wait, we wrote that out. Anyway.
Stop. So yeah, this one is basically recovering the tape, with Kate doing a lot of the stuff here. Again, the colors. It's so strange what Aja... I guess you say Aja. I don't know. The David guy that does the pencils and the illustrations and stuff. It's so interesting how they use colors in this series. I was complaining earlier about the greens, blues, and oranges, and we still have more green and orange here, but then they switched to like almost a faded, muted blood red for the background, for the walls, and a couple of the pages in this issue. It's interesting, I'll say that. But the overall art style is more, to me, is more muted for the background and having the characters pop off the page, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and Aja shows a lot of versatility, especially considering that the 7th issue, which might be my favorite, and that's the start of the 2nd trade. I mean, the 7th issue, the artwork is very different, and there's significantly more use of color in it than any of the other issues, really.
Right. I love how they do these character shots of each character speaking, or the character next to them speaking. I think that's really interesting. What the hell is Shadow Weaver doing in this issue? Christ, this is my main complaint about all comic book companies. Label your fucking page numbers, people. It's the page where Mr. Fisk of the hand says yes. It's getting hot in here. Let me see 2 yards now. Two things down from that, there's a character that looks just like Shadow Weaver from Masters of the Universe. It's right before the issue ends, actually.
I doubt it's meant to be.
I know, but and then we've got the end of the issue with Madame Mask.
Yes.
Thoughts on issue 4?
Well, I mean, I'm just summing it up as a 2-parter. It's 4 and 5 there, and 6 is the start of the 2nd trade. But anyway, like I say, 4 and 5, I liked the spy stuff. I liked the further sort of establishment of Kate Bishop. And the entire series, a lot of it revolves around their relationship, where Hawkeye is quite clearly interested in her and she's interested in him, but they're both absolutely terrible at saying anything to each other.
I know.
One of my absolute favorite portions of like the entire run is Hawkeye's dog trying to cover his eyes when they're two of them are talking to each other. Because anyone can see that they're interested, but they can't say anything right at all to one another. And even the dog is ashamed of them, so...
Yes. Now, what really kind of screwed me up with this is at the end of this, you have, instead of Hawkeye number 6, you have Young Avengers presents Hawkeye, Young Avengers presents number 6. And this is basically how Kate and Clint met.
Yeah, it's an actual, like, straightforward story out of a superhero book.
Well, no, what screws me up is that with that issue, it says Young Avengers number 6, and then immediately in volume 2, we start out with, at least in the one that I have, it starts out with issue 7 of Hawkeye.
Yeah, the cover is there for 7. It's meant to be a splash page. I don't know why it's placed there rather than later on.
Okay.
But it's actually issue 6.
I got confused as all hell when I'm like, wait a second, issue 7, where the hell is issue 6? And then it goes back to issue 6.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, let's try that again. It's deliberate. It's just I think the reason is 7 is just out of order of it, and they wanted to keep... I have no idea. I mean, 6 is the first issue that uses actual, like, dates in it.
Right.
And it's a 6 days in the life of.
Right, yeah.
And the issue... Yeah. Issue 7 has the date of October 29th in it.
Right.
So for whatever reason, they were out of order.
So
I don't have the individual issues. I started picking this up at, I think, 10. So I have no idea if it's just a trade paperback misprinting or...
It might be a misprinting. I don't know, but you're right. Issue 7 does start with October, and maybe it is a misprint. Maybe it should say issue 6 instead of 7.
Or they meant to flip the covers, or I don't know. If I had the individual issues, I'd know, but I don't.
Yeah.
Regardless, the first issue of that trade might be one of my favorites. It's a sort of like deals with Clint being in New York for the fairly recent hurricane that hit.
Yeah, it's basically Hurricane Sandy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. This is a very interesting story, I felt.
I like, and it's one of his neighbors, and it's his neighbor's father, and the two of them going out to sort of try to both convince him to go someplace safer, but also try to, prep and hopefully save the house. And what I liked is it has one of the most human moments you'll find in a comic series. I'm trying to figure out how much I want to give away or anything. But the moments between Clint just trying to advise Gil on how to deal with his father post his mother's death and everything is really well done.
Yeah, it is. The story is very, very well done. Seeing Kate in that dress is interesting.
Yeah.
the bridesmaid's dress.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which, of course, is purple in the Hawkeye colors.
Of course. I don't know. I'm not, like, Ryan is, obviously, he's been entrenched in the last 70 years of comics knowledge. I'm not. Has there ever been a series where it's just been about two people in a relationship that are superheroes?
not mainstream, not in like the
See,
Marvel
I think
and
if
DC stuff.
Yeah, see, I think I would be more interested in this of seeing the adventures of Clint and Kate every month. Because the two of them, the chemistry, the fact that she's kicking him out of his own apartment.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair point too. The two of them work really well together.
I love that. That is so hilarious.
Yeah, in some ways the series works best when it is the two of them. Although, the stuff with him, the series works well basically when everyone's just actually being a person in a lot of ways, because Clint doesn't deal well with people, but he's able to help his neighbor. Or he doesn't deal well with Kate, but neither of them deal well with people. So,
yeah.
And that's kind of the strong suit and what the series overall is about. It's two people just being people.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'll have more to sort of add on that near, like after we're done when it's sum things up. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the great. That's just so interesting, and I don't know if, because I'm looking at the trade now, and I've got the two cover pages open. I don't know if that's supposed to be a splash, because issue 6 is basically a red arrow pointing, pointing down with Clint and his bow. It's basically the same as the cover.
Yeah, I don't think it's meant to be a splash. I mean, if I had to guess, I'd say either the covers are meant to be switched, or it's possible just because of publishing or whatever, they move them around.
Yeah. See, even if they did something along the lines of just, you could keep the covers the same, just change the numbering. Like have it say issue 6 where it's supposed to say issue 6, and have it say issue 7 where, again, we don't know because we don't have the single issues, people, but I don't know. I'll tell you this, with issue 6, these what is it, 5 days or whatever else?
Yeah, 6 days in the life.
Yeah, 6 days in the life. This was some weird stuff for me as far as the art layout. It's something I've never seen. I've only been reading comics since last October, people. I've never seen layouts like this. It's interesting. I don't dislike the layouts, but it for me, it was almost hard to follow. Like, which panel am I supposed to be reading first now? This is one of those types of things. And it's Christmas time. Yay!
Well, it's still page to page. I mean, the panels are still roughly in order.
They are, but instead of you're right. They're in order, but instead of taking up half the corner of the page to say Tuesday, December 18th, what I'm used to seeing is something in like where Hawkeye says, "If only Dr. Druid was still alive." Like I'm used to seeing like a note, like if that image of Hawkeye was a little bit larger and large, I'm used to seeing the date inside the image, not on the actual page itself outside of panel, is what I'm saying, is what kind of threw me off there. It's so weird seeing Wolverine and Spider-Man in snow.
One other thing, I mean, most of the books ignore passage of time or the holidays and everything else, too. It was another sort of thing they did slightly differently. Or you'll get Christmas specials.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, that issue is what it says it is. It's 6 days in the life of. It's Tony Stark's only appearance in the series thus far, helping him try to set up his TiVo / whatever Hawkeye's equipment is meant to be, television and everything else.
Yeah. I love that. I thought that was so great, him arguing with the cable guy.
Well, the cable guy in this, and are arguing about, setting it up and everything. And Tony basically just wants to like buy a whole new setup and have somebody do it.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
It does continue, at least briefly, the Tracksuit Mafia stuff.
Yeah, he's like, yo, bro. Oh, God. I wish he'd just put a single arrow in every single one of those people.
You're thinking of the other guy whose books you're reading, and it's not arrows he uses.
Wait, what?
You're thinking of the... I was making a Punisher reference.
Oh, no, no,
Those aren't
no.
arrows, though. Hawkeye's not Frank. He doesn't run around killing people.
But I'm sorry. The only reason why I want, yes, I do agree with you. Having the tracksuit mafia kind of be his villains is interesting. But Jesus Christ, I need a new fucking saying. Holy crap!
Well, I mean, they're meant to be annoying, and also, to be honest, who the hell doesn't know people like that? I do. The big thing in Ottawa is everybody uses the word "like" too much and the wrong way. And I know I've done it too on podcasts, which annoys the hell out of me, especially when I'm editing them. But yeah, on to the next issue, which is 8, and we're back to everything actually being numbered correctly again.
Yes, I love issue 8. Oh wow, issue 8 was amazing. Because you have these classic looking comic covers.
Yeah, all the sort of like 50s style, and the number, or I shouldn't give that, well, whatever. They're there for a reason, and they're actually important to the plot in the end of the issue. But yeah, it's a very 50s style art.
Yeah.
And the 50s style stuff continues at the start when they show Jessica, Black Widow, and crap, I can't remember Hawkeye's ex.
Bobby.
Yes. Anyway, but yeah, when they show the three of them too, it sort of continues with that, and Cherry at the start.
Yeah. And I love how, and I think one of my main problems, not necessarily with the series, but one of my main concerns was the entire time I read this, I was like, okay, I get it, it's his day off, but why is he never in costume? And the only time I ever really see the Hawkeye mask is in these covers.
Oh, and when it's covering up nudity.
Yeah, that's true. I meant to mention in Volume 1, I do love how... Well, I do love how, overall so far, Matt Fraction, I love how instead of figuring out or writing out actual other languages, he just puts in French stuff here.
Yeah.
I thought I did really enjoy that.
Yeah, Spanish sounding stuff.
Yeah. I really did enjoy that stuff as far as the writing goes. So people don't get me wrong. I don't totally hate this series, but at the same time, it's not. I don't know. All right, so we've got.
It's not necessarily going to be for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. And apparently, we've got Doomed Love, and the first part of this is My Bad Penny. Yeah, you've got...
There's a variety of them, yeah.
Yeah. And the professional spy says, and my ex-wife says, and my friend girl says... Oh boy, no! But I love this issue. I thought this issue was damn good because it's almost like reading, because they throw in these classic covers, and I get that it's part of what comes into it later. Because they throw in these classic covers instead of it just being a straight on cover and then the panel by panel stuff until the issue ends, it almost feels like these are all mini stories in issue 8. It really does, and I enjoy that. I thought that was great.
Yeah, and I mean, continuing with that too. 9 is almost mini stories as well. It's a continuation of it, and it's essentially the story is each of the 3 women not necessarily introduced, but each of the 3 women in Hawkeye's life, plus Kate, all sort of like visit him or visit Cherry, and that's sort of like the main brings things forward in that issue.
Yeah, it does. And I will say one thing for Hawkeye's uniform: he does eventually put a T-shirt on with a bullseye on it.
Yeah, with basically his logo on it, which is kind of funny.
It's very funny. Yeah, give him an Irish accent and He can almost be a villain.
No, yeah, and at the end of 9, we see like everybody, Hawkeye, I'd used like, damn it. Anyway, at the end of the issue, or near the end, everybody Hawkeye stole money from. Kingpin, Owl, who the hell else is in there? Hammerhead, a lot of them. Now I'm flipping through the pages. I gotta stop that. Anyway, a lot of the guys that he robbed way back in the second issue are all together and agreeing to allow the Tracksuit Mafia to hire somebody to go after Clint, hoping to kill him.
Yeah. And apparently that guy came from hell.
Yes, although he was also not big on the look on the villain here. Let's just say I don't expect it to be somebody that Frank would fight or something like that. But
he looks like a really
evil
piss
mime.
poor. Evil mime. I was gonna go for a piss poor copycat Jack Nicholson, younger version of Jack Nicholson's Joker, but like, hey, he can't cover up his entire head with his makeup. I guess that's maybe the point, so it doesn't look like a total Joker ripoff, but yeah, that guy's just weird.
Yeah, and the majority of issue 10 is his backstory.
Yeah, and this is where the bright colors kick in. It's interesting. At the same time, it, for me, kind of takes away... I don't know. I have a hard time when you pick a style that you want to do your book in. Like, the whole time up to issue 10, we've had these muted colors to make the characters pop. Muted oranges, greens, blues, whatever, yellows. And now, hey, let's turn a flashlight on and have all the cockroaches scatter.
Yeah.
It's just
Not a bad analogy, I suppose.
Wow. But yeah, issue 10 is pretty much his story and why he's around, and I do like how they do the panels on the page where the explosion happens.
Yeah.
I really like how they do that. Kind of like it's almost like it's a ripped up or shredded up photograph. I think that's really, really cool. Yeah, but no, this issue is very, very interesting.
Well, I also think it's an attempt to finally give him a bit of a rogues gallery and give him somebody to go up against. And that, in a lot of ways, is how this trade, or this grouping of trades ends, because the 11th issue is essentially a retelling of events from the previous one, but as seen through the eyes of Pizza Dog or Arrow or whatever you want to name him, but Hawkeye's dog.
Yes.
Hawkeye's dog, or maybe Kate's dog, who knows, since he decides to go with her at the end of it. But anyway,
it's a Hawk dog, either way.
I agree that issue is a little difficult to follow, or it can, but I mean, it's also told through the perspective of a dog, who are not known for their attention span versus the average person.
Right, and you can clearly tell with what, the first page of Hawkeye, I believe it's Hawkeye and Kate. He says what, and then there's a bunch of murmuring, and then there's me, and then help, and then more murmuring. So you can tell that it's from the dog's perspective, because the dog is only tuning in on certain words. It's interesting. I somewhat like it, but not really. It's just strange to me. Like, if they really wanted to highlight Pizza Dog, give him his own one-shot. Don't waste an entire issue on him. And silence. And the internet is now dead.
I'm still okay with it. I think it was... it's a toss-up for me if that's my favorite issue, or the earlier one we mentioned, 7, but I liked moments out of 7. I think I like this one better overall. I don't know, I enjoyed it. I enjoy the entire thing the entire, like both trades, the series thus far, because it is something different.
Yeah, and I enjoy it. I enjoyed it as well. I enjoyed it in different points, and in different points I was just screaming my head off. It's like, oh, come on. Quit using your goddamn catchphrase. Quit, villains, quit using your damn catchphrase. Or get a new friggin' catchphrase. I mean, overall, I enjoyed it. Is it something I'm going to continue on a month-to-month basis? Probably not. Is it something I'm going to go back and read? Probably not. Actually, probably after this episode airs, I will probably go trade this in so I can get credit for other stuff that I want to read. And I think my main problem with Pizza Dog is not necessarily the character himself, and it's not necessarily it's more so that I read comics for the writing. And there's not, because it's told from the perspective of a dog, it has to be visual. You can't, because obviously dogs can't talk. That's one of the reasons why I don't outright hate issue 11, but at the same time it was like, okay then, that's interesting.
It's interesting because we're going to end up getting into this when we talk about Rucka's stuff, but one thing Greg Rucka did brilliantly with his Punisher run was he let the art tell the story versus anything else. Part of that is because Frank doesn't talk much. In fact, I think Pizza Dog has more dialogue than Frank Castle at points. But, there's something to be said for getting out of the way of the art on occasion, especially when it's as well done as Marco Cicchetto's in that series. And, I mean, continuing some of the stuff with Frank Castle as well, with the Punisher, Fraction famously has what is, I would say, not even debatably, the worst run in the history of the Punisher comics with his nightmarishly bad War Journal run. And it's weird to me seeing how he can understand and get one character that's just a normal guy, and he missed so completely on another. And a lot of that is because he made the decision with Hawkeye to focus on his life outside of the Avengers and outside of being a hero and just being a person. And you can't do that with the Punisher because he's not a person. He's a horrible person, and he doesn't have that life outside of it. And so, yeah, it's different in a lot of ways, and this isn't going to be a series for everyone, but I really do feel like it's a series everyone should at least try. I think some people are going to love it, other people not so much.
I think people that have read Clint as the Avenger, as Hawkeye, for the majority, will really enjoy this as a break. Me, as someone who, outside of certain cartoon stuff, barely, and obviously the movie, barely knows that much about him, it was a hard sell for me. I don't totally hate either volume. I don't hate the series in general. There are points where I really loved it, and there are points where it made me want to pull my hair out.
I heartily recommend the rest of Avengers, which is one of the best superhero cartoon series in quite some time. Because I will get to it.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's as good an introduction to this sort of version of Hawkeye as you really need. I don't have a whole lot of experience with Hawkeye because frequently he's not part of the Avengers when I'm reading it. I only sort of come and go from that series and some of the others, and half the time he's not even there. I think oddly enough, the first time, I use that word again, whatever. The first time I can remember reading about him was House of M, in fact, which was post-Avengers Disassembled, where he dies at the time. Don't worry, he gets better, obviously. But
obviously, yes.
Yes, every comic book character ever will get better from death.
Except Uncle Ben.
Yeah, that's true. That was what was the old rule? It was there's only certain people who can remain dead, and somebody had to cross off a bunch of them because they came back. I think. I remember specifically Jason Todd was one. He had remained dead forever, and finally they'd randomly decided to bring him back.
Yeah. The only one I know of that has always stayed dead, unless it's an alternate timeline or an alternate universe, is Uncle Ben. He is not alive in the Marvel mainstream.
Yeah.
And that's fine with me because, again, stuff with cartoons like with the old Spidey series where you go to a different time or a different dimension or and oh hey, this Uncle Ben is still alive, yay, but still in the real world he's not, and that's fine with me. But let's take a quick audio break. I'm gonna try to find some Hawkeye clips, and we'll be back with final thoughts and ratings after this.
Sorry to interrupt, boys, but I got a quick question before I take you all down. Where is the Black Widow?
Hello, pop culture connoisseurs. Do you gain a dark sense of peace when the guilty are punished by a violent vigilante? If so, maybe you should get some therapy, and then subscribe to Punisher Body Count, the net's best podcast concerning all things Frank Castle. I'm Dane Lamont. My co-host Jake Williams and I cover the good, the bad, and the hilarious on the Punisher comics, movies, and news. Do you like chummy co-host banter? We got that. You need to get your fucking
No, you need to fucking pay attention to the fucking movie.
You want kick-ass guest interviews? How about Mike Barron and Tom Jane?
I like a little bit of grit in my cigar.
You want carefully considered in-depth analysis?
It just won Best Picture at the Oscars yesterday. It's no Terminator. It was still,
Good luck with that. Punisher Body Count, twice a month on Geekcast Radio.
Well, Clint, you really outdid yourself this time.
Attention, Hawkeye! You are to stand down by order of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Director Fury wants a word with you, Barton.
Good, because I want a word with him, too.
We are back here in the pull bag. Your final thoughts on the first two volumes of Hawkeye?
87 out of 10. No, listen, I kind of wish that both Jonathan and I had remembered this when we were recommending it to you. But this isn't necessarily a series that's for everyone. I think some people will get it. And as I said before, I do think it's one that most people should try, maybe individual issues or something like that. Although part of the problem with that is because of popularity, it's hard to find issue 1 and 2. And they were, I believe issue 1 was reprinted, but I think that's sold out most places as well, too. So good luck getting a copy of it. That's part of the problem. This is one that I think people are going to have to pick up I don't think people should take either of our words for it. No offense for the rating. But it's kind of one that you sort of have to read on your own and give a shot. The bright side is the trades aren't horribly expensive either. They're not.
No, I got them on InStockTrades.com for fairly cheap, and and they only charge $4 for shipping unless you buy stuff over $50 and it's free. But getting them on it online, getting the trades is not that hard, and it's not going to break your wallet at all.
Yeah, it's not one that's just in hardcover and sells for $40 or something like that, at least.
Yeah, no.
So my final thought is it's not for everybody. I think it's, if you're looking for something different, not even necessarily if you have a background with the character, just if you're looking for something that's kind of out there, it's solid.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I'm looking at InStockTrades.com right now. It is on sale. It's you save 45%. You can get it for $9.34 on InStockTrades, and if you only buy that and the second issue, it's probably going to run you under $30 to get both of these trades, most likely. That's not a bad deal. I love going through them. Yeah, Volume 2 is also $9.34, so $23 total with $4 shipping, say. So that's not that bad at all.
That's for 2, and like I say, just try the one.
Yeah, that's for the first 2 volumes. And as you know, I'm one of those people that I want the entire story now.
Yeah.
So that's why we did this as volumes 1 and volume 2. Normally how we do trades here in the pull bag is we'll do a 3-part story arc for 3 episodes. So take Transformers Robots in Disguise. Volume 1 will be one episode, Volume 2, Volume 3, whatever. But with this, I wanted to do it back to back because I thought it was going to be one, and it is. I just thought there was going to be more of a continuous story in it, and there is in parts, and there isn't in parts, especially issue 11. That's, I don't know. Like I said, I enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it enough to continue with the series. Hawkeye is not one of my I must read this character kind of superheroes, and I get it. This is not Hawkeye, the Avenger. This is Hawkeye, day off.
Hawkeye, the guy, basically.
Yeah, as Gil put it, hot guy.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah. The other question I wanted to ask you, throughout this whole thing, everybody knows he's an Avenger. Everybody knows his, like, this whole superhero secret identity thing, do people just not fucking get that?
Clint doesn't always have one. I mean, not everybody.
Okay. He's kind of like Iron Man, yeah.
Yeah,
Iron
Tony,
Man.
for the most part, never really had one either. And there's a few of those in the Marvel Universe. And I mean, keep in mind, like in Clint Barton's case and in Tony Stark's case, the majority of the people in their life, like day-to-day life, are either people who can take care of themselves, or they just don't have anyone that close. We're not talking like Spider-Man with an 80-year-old aunt who, is not going to go toe-to-toe with Dr. Octopus or something. But yeah, I can understand some sort of confusion over that. It's one thing, too. Is there anyone in DC who doesn't have a secret identity?
I don't think so. Out of the main ones that I read, I love how they work around the secret identity. Specifically in Batgirl. I think it was issue 19 or 20. It was right after the events of Death of the Family. It was one of those issues where she basically tells her roommate, but she doesn't. She tells her events of what's going on in her life, but she doesn't directly say, "Hey, I'm Batgirl." I like how they do that versus keeping it a complete secret or keeping it not a secret at all. I like how they do a workaround. I mean, it's... I know a lot of people are going to kill me for this reference, but it's kind of like, depending on which season of Power Rangers you watch, sometimes their identities are secret, sometimes they're not, and that pisses me off either way. But
oh my, I just like some of the different stuff. I like the fact that there are heroes that, especially in Marvel, that have one because they need it, and then there's others that don't. I mean, when you read it, the Punisher is one of my favorite ones too, because there's somebody that. It's in the Max series. Somebody says like, "Oh my God, you're the Punisher," and he looks at her and goes, "Everybody knows I'm the Punisher." He doesn't have any identity and has never needed one, and I kind of like that too. It makes him a little different than everybody else. And
see, I don't see, and we'll get to this down the line when we eventually do a Punisher themed character month here on the Pull Bag, but. I don't see why Frank Castle would even need one.
Everybody knows who he is, and he operates out of the
everybody
shadows.
Knows what happened to him. Everybody knows why he went down the path he went down. I don't see... Like, Batman, yes, Bruce Wayne needs a secret identity. Nightwing, you could argue either way. But Punisher, to me, Frank Castle, has never needed...
Does Bruce Wayne really need... Or does... Batman really need one, actually? So just sort of like throwing that out there. This is probably discussion for another podcast, but does he really need one all that badly? I mean, Bruce Wayne doesn't have people close to him. It's basically, outside of the movies, but I mean, talking about the comic books, it's basically Alfred, and that's about it. I mean... There's nobody else.
Because of,
I guess the big thing would be he needs his money so he can keep being Batman and the gadgets and everything. And realistically, a police department, the first thing they'd probably do is freeze his assets.
Yeah.
All right, maybe this was a bad example.
Well, no, I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't. That's a damn good question. That's kind of like me surprising you with the right off the bat. Which are you, Marvel or D? I don't know honestly, because Bruce Wayne is technically his mask. He is.
Yeah,
ever
he is
since
Batman.
he was, he is Batman. That's who he is. And Bruce Wayne is the cover. I don't know. Well, I'll have to put a pin in that for another
Bruce
time.
Wayne to sort of keep himself. Actually, that might be the point here, is that he needs Bruce Wayne to keep himself grounded and keep himself a little sane. Whereas you look at, if he was just Batman 24/7, would he eventually become someone like Castle, who has a tenuous at best grasp of sanity?
Well, I think the difference is between the two of them are, even though both of them had family members gunned down, Frank embraced killing.
Yeah,
Bruce went completely the opposite way. Is like, I will never kill.
I think, like I say, I had, when I give you the list, Bourne was on there.
Yes.
And Bourne is one of the first books that postulated or asked the question, was he always the Punisher? Did he embrace this long before that day in the park? Because it asks the question, what does it take to make a person turn into the Punisher? And it can't just be a single event, and that was sort of came...
Yeah.
But anyway, we're getting way off topic here.
Way off topic. All right, so... Final rating from me, I'm going to give this is based on the GCRN Universal rating. It's 0 to 5 stars. There are also half stars in there. I'm going to give Hawkeye Volume 1 and Volume 2 a liked it, 3.5 stars. I liked it to the point of there were really cool things about it. Like I said before, Kate and Clint's relationship or friendship or whatever you want to call it. I do like his style of taking bad guys down, but at the same time, I don't like it for the constant use of catchphrases and all that stuff, and just the constant change in art style and colors.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm giving it a really liked it, which is 4 stars out of 5, and the shift in art, the coloring doesn't really bother me. It's the shift in art and the almost random telling of the stories out of sequence on occasion, particularly in the first issue. But it happens some more later on as well. Kind of keep it from an almost perfect rating, at least for me. It's, like I say, this is one that's not going to be for everybody.
Yes. You want to tell everybody where they can find you to interact with you online if they so choose to do so?
No. Oh, for sure. Why not? No, the easiest way is just on Twitter. It's at Nightbeat.
Yes.
All one word. Nightbeat is a Transformer, for people who don't know, from the 80s.
Yes, we'll have to talk about that off air.
Actually, we should, at some point, you're going to have to talk about Transformers Prime that wrapped up, too.
Yes, I know. Not on this show, though. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode. Next episode, I think, is either a Bat Book episode or a Spider Book episode. I'm not sure just yet.
Can't it be both?
Which one? No. Spider Bat? No. We do not want to see Bruce Wayne and Otto Octavius meld minds. Alright, make your great escape into comics, and we will catch you next time.
Coming to Grand Rapids, Michigan on September 21st and 22nd is GrandCon Gaming and Comics Convention, presented by Celebration Cinemas. Join us in playing or chatting it up with fellow enthusiasts in a community that understands your passions. Get lost in the adventure of your favorite role-playing game. Admire costumes and art from vendors and attendees. Meet the creators behind your favorite mainstream and independent games and comic books. Check out unpublished games and sneak peek at things to come. You can get all this and more at GrandCon. For more information, please visit www.grand-con.com. GeekCastRadio.com.
You need me to save the world? Fine. I'll be there. But I don't need S.H.I.E.L.D. for this. And I don't need the Avengers. I'll find Widow on my own.
You just heard the latest episode of The Pullbag, GCRN's comic book review podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, GeekCastRadio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate our show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you were leaving the message for, and your name. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. You can send us an email, feedback@geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter @GeekcastRadio. So until next time, unleash the geek in you.